Welcome to the Limitless Leaders podcast. This is a show where my guests and I explore and expand on all things mindset, leadership, and communication. On the show, I interview inspiring leaders, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all walks of life, where they share their stories, experiences, and lessons. This is a podcast for you if you're looking to learn, grow, and accelerate your life, career, and who you are. Hi all, and welcome to the Limitless Leaders podcast, where I interview people from all over the world, authors, business owners, CEOs and leaders that are making a difference and contributing to really elevating the human side of leadership. Today, I'm super excited. We have a duo today on our podcast, the lovely Dara Simkin and Tané. And I'd love you both just to intro yourselves and where you're from and what you're about.
Go for it, Dara.
I need to do that.
My name is Dara Simkin. I'm the founder of a learning design consultancy called Culture Hero. For nearly a decade, we've been bringing play-based learning initiatives to organizations from Fortune 500 companies to government to not-for-profits. We really believe that play is a mechanism for change within organizations. It builds better leaders, better cultures, and we're really about bridging this gap between work and play because play has a PR problem, and we need to change that, especially in the age of AI.
Yeah, totally agree. Bringing in that childlike wonder, curiosity. I don't think there's anything better or more effective in the learning space. So welcome.
Thank you.
Tané.
Thanks for having us, Renee. My name is Tané Hunter. My background is in cancer research, data science, and systems science, and a bit of futurism in there. I'm the founder of Future Crunch, and for the last 15 years, we've been exploring the frontiers of science and technology and really how they intersect and interact with the global economy, politics, and society more generally. We really help individuals and organizations understand what's coming next as we move into a new era. And we really help give them evidence to believe a better future can be built and is on the horizon if we choose to do so and get enough people inspired and on the right track. We call it intelligent optimism, fact-based reasons why a better future can be built. So yeah, last 15 years we've done institutes, organizations, and individuals, help them out really, finding the way through a bit of the madness that is everyone's feeling at the moment in 2026.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you and welcome. And I love just already chatting to you both. You're both very different, but you complement each other. And I think, you've got exciting news about your book, and we'll go into that in a moment. But I guess, Dara, I always love people's origin story. How did you get to doing what you're doing today? What's behind that?
I've always been a very playful person in my life. I do have diagnosed ADHD, which I was diagnosed earlier last year. And so I was always the kind of too much, over the top kind of. My mom once told me when I was 15 that I needed to tone it down. And so when I came to Australia, I actually won an all expenses paid trip to Tasmania in a video competition, which is how I originally arrived here.
Yeah.
And then I found my way to Melbourne. And kind of long story short, I started a coaching business because I've always been incredibly fascinated by human behavior. I created a pretty successful coaching business over a couple of years, and I started running workshops as part of just trying to create less heavy conversations about mental health and well-being. And I just started to realize that with my personality, the one-on-one thing wasn't really working for me, and I wanted to do one-to-many. And I decided that I was going to be the first person to ever bring an adult summer camp to Australia. And unfortunately, the nostalgia piece was missing in that. And I think I had 3 people book the weekend.
Yeah.
But I had a friend in marketing and branding say, Dara, people are way more interested in investing in their professional development here in Australia than their personal development. So it was a quick pivot to go from connecting people to their inner child and this concept of sort of personal play to play at work, and just kind of gave it a little bit of a spin. I begged 12 people to come for a very cheap amount of money. And for me, it was really my MVP around can I change people's mind about
Yeah.
play? So at the start of the weekend, I said, what do you think play is? And they're like fun and games and kids and sports. And by the end of our time together, it was vulnerability, trust, collaboration,
Yeah.
creativity,
Yeah.
openness, and the list goes on. So
Yeah.
for me, it was really then going from that kind of, moment of realization that, okay, this is something meaty here. And I started building out workshops and going into corporate spaces and kind of that's where we're at today. So
I love
yeah.
that. And I love this. I actually did summer camp in Connecticut back in, showing my age now, 1996.
Okay.
First time
Nice.
ever overseas. I was in my early 20s and yeah, did a few summer camps and that sounds amazing. And I think, and I know in the work that we do with teams in organizations and leaders, the play piece, the interactive piece, which I'm very similar to you, is the piece that they remember.
Mm.
And I always liken it back to school. Ironically, I didn't like school at all. The things I remember were the excursions and the camps,
Mm.
the experiences. And I think that's what makes us human, which is,
Mm.
more
Mm.
important than ever.
Well,
You know,
my Maya Angelou has that quote, then they're not going to remember what you said or what you did, but how you made them feel.
exactly,
Yes,
Mm.
exactly.
exactly.
And it's so true. And it's I think in this world, and we'll go into it, but world of AI and noise and market changes and everything, natural disasters, where do we end? But people are looking for that human side.
Mm.
And you sort of touched on it. To me, there's no work or it's life. Bring your whole self to life, everything we do. And I think you probably do applies in and out of the workplace, right?
Mm. Absolutely.
So important. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you. Tané, what about you? What's your background and how you've got to be here today?
Well, I'm unashamedly a nerd. One of my first summer camps was space camp. But
Oh,
I've had a love affair with biology for as long as I can remember.
yeah.
So I studied science in school. My first job was professional mountain biker in the United States, cross country. And then I broke my back, so that dream sort of fell apart.
Yeah.
Um, but one door closes, many more open, so I refocused on science and also music. And I had this fork in the road where I could either go to Portland with my hipster alternative band, or called Virgin on Kinky, or go sailing with my parents to New Zealand across the South Pacific and all through Latin America. And I chose the latter, and that's really changed my life. I really wanted to be a marine biologist, but in the Cook Islands came across a whale dissection and offered to help out. So I spent 3 days dissecting this beached whale. And I professed my love of marine biology to this woman named Darlene Kenton from Harvard Medical School. And she gave me really valuable advice. She said, marine biology is a saturated field, like all the cool stuff like sharks, whales, dolphins are all taken. You'll probably end up doing your PhD on a sea sponge or algae. Algae would be cool. I mean, it does provide 60% of the world's oxygen. But anyway, she said if you learn to study the code of life, DNA itself, you can apply it to within any facet within biology. And so then arrived in New Zealand, managed some vineyards and did hospitality for a while, and my brain was atrophying. So I applied at the University of Melbourne for bioinformatics, which is mathematics, big data to the biological realm.
Wow.
And then I ended up at Peter Mac doing cancer research for my master's degree and PhD. And during that time, I met this lovely South African, Dr. Angus Harvey. He's a political economist, and he's really into renewable energy, and he couldn't get a job. It's back when they were gouging all the carbon tax
Yeah.
credits and everything. Anyway, so I've been into tech for a while and the solution-based mindset around tech. In 2007, went to the first Singularity Summit,
Yeah.
which is a big white male, pale, frail, stale, dominant tech utopian conference in Palo Alto. But it really got me excited about the limitless possibilities of what technology can provide for the world and the environment. And so we had this idea to create a free presentation about
Yeah.
how tech can provide solutions to our biggest problems, to get Gus a job, invite all the people who wouldn't hire him. And all of a sudden they turned around and said, we'll hire you for the presentation. And so that's how Future Crunch started.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Love
we
that.
just do work with organizations, and also we have a newsletter, 70,000 people, which was Future Crunch, is now Fix the News, but it's just evidence-based reasons of people around the world, thousands of people making the world a better place through science, technology, and
Yeah.
conservation efforts. So,
Oh, amazing. And you'd be loving being living in this time now with all the tech advances and
oh, but I mean, it comes at a cost. And I think,
stuff.
as you
Yeah.
pointed out earlier, counterintuitively, as technology becomes a layer over absolutely everything in every industry, it's more important to be human than ever
Yeah.
before and to foster those human skills. In
That's right.
particular, play, your curiosity,
Yeah.
your optimism, your adaptability, your solutions-based mindset, and also don't your ability to have empathy and be kind to your fellow human beings.
Right, right. And and we might talk, and thank you. We might talk about there. And I love both of your journeys, different but similar, and then you've ended up, writing your book. So I'd love probably just to have a chat with you about the human side because it's my life's work, and gift mindset is all about ramping up the power skills that make us human by learning those through challenges and positive situations and people. You touched on a few that we do a lot on, which is optimism and empathy. And I always say AI can think, but it can't feel. And I do have people that disagree with that, and there might be listeners or viewers now going, it can't feel, it can't self-regulate as a human does. So I'd love to probably, Dara, ask you what what are the key skills or just one or two key skills or strategies to bring play into the workplace? Something that our listeners can really just go and do.
Well, I think it really starts out as a mindset, and a lot of people want these kind of quick fixes or band-aid opportunities to say, how can I do play? And it's like you don't really do play before you be play.
Mm,
So, there's really this
yeah,
kind of pre-work and a lot of unlearning around the way leadership views play as frivolous or a distraction or a nice to have, or we did that fun thing, remember? And so it really is a total mindset shift and a way of operating. And that really starts with this concept of permission, where leaders are not only needing to give their people permission to be more curious, to take risks, to collaborate more effectively, but they need to give themselves permission.
yeah,
What I talk about a lot in my work is seriousness does not equal success. And you
no,
will not find one documented research study or any data anywhere in the world that is going to prove that seriousness makes you more successful. But I think because of the Puritan work ethic from 500 years ago, where work was seen as salvation, we
yeah,
have 500 years of really sort of toxic programming that leads us
yeah,
to believe that, leisure time and, daydreaming and things like that, and even boredom, that
mm,
they have no place. So I think fundamentally that piece on permission
yeah,
is so important, and really leaders to think about. We interview an amazing person named Reggie Butler, who has actually since passed
Mm.
away since we published the book, and we've actually dedicated it to him.
oh,
Amazing, amazing thinker and leader in the space around bias and
yeah,
inclusion and things like that. But he talks about your origin story, and a lot of us don't really think about the beliefs and systems and biases that we have had shaping our view of the world. And a lot of times leaders are just acting from a place of unconscious bias, and
yeah,
there is a lot of bias towards play. So I would say
Mm.
absolutely thinking about what do you have to give yourself permission to do or let go of as a leader to start
yeah,
to realize that play is not a frivolity. It's actually an essential tool for
yeah,
well-being, for connection, for innovation.
yeah.
The list is on and on. So that would be fundamentally the first thing, is permission. Once you give yourself permission, then you can give other people permission,
Understand. Yeah,
because you can't just give permission without believing in it. Then
right.
you are,
Yeah,
kind of full of BS.
yeah. It's so
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
got to
for
practice
sure.
what you preach.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Um, the second fundamental piece that is really something crucial that we talk about in the book is this yes and mindset. And it comes from improvisation. And I'm sure lots of people have seen improv shows or watched Whose Line
yeah,
Is It Anyway? And it isn't blind compliance. It is not saying yes to everything. We have to get things done. Work is work sometimes.
mm,
However, I think when we are trying to solve problems, when we're trying to invite participation, when we're trying to build psychological safety, we need this very simple lexicon in our vocabulary around yes and, because it invites participation.
It does.
And
Yeah.
Tana and I were just talking about this earlier. We both are very strongly opinionated about dialectical thinking and the importance of being able to hold two ideas in your head at once. And I'll let Tana talk a little bit about that in a
Yeah.
moment. But, yes and is basically saying, yes, this is difficult and there's a way forward.
Yeah.
Or,
Spot
yes, I
on.
hear what you're saying and what are some other possibilities. And, I make a
Yes,
joke about, go
yes,
ahead.
the world's going to hell in a handbasket, but yes, also
Yeah.
we're doing some incredible projects
Things
to
as
make things
well.
better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And Dara, the bit about being, when we talk, it's a psychology thing around what do you want to have, what have you got to do, but who do you need to be to
Oh yeah,
have
B
that?
do have
Well, but
classic
people,
coaching 101.
it
Yeah.
is, but people still do it the other way. I actually go a step further and say, how do you want to feel before
Mm,
you even think about who you need to be, what you need to do, or what you want to have?
yeah.
Because
Love that.
your feeling will dictate the next thing. But unfortunately, I always say we're human doings, not human beings. We're in this this default. And the permission to pause and play, I think, is next level. I've started one of my passions outside of work is cooking. I'm like you, I'm not a still person. I go a million miles an hour, always have high energy, and cooking without recipes is my thing.
Mm.
So I brought that into a team retreat.
S- Same.
Yeah, so I love it. So when people go, "How did you make that?" I'm like, "Really?" So cook by heart. I'm half Italian, so and French on the other side. And went out with a Sri Lankan guy growing up, and his mum had a restaurant. So I cook a lot of Sri Lankan and things that you can just go in and do. But people love it.
Mm.
Mm.
People when they're playing, something I noticed in the last retreat we ran, and we do like three pastas, ravioli, mains, whatever. Um, there's no hierarchy.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
the GM could not use his pasta machine, just couldn't get his head around it. And the front line are there just going bang, bang, bang
Hmm.
and having a bit of banter, and I think play brings everyone down to the same level.
Yes. It's an
And I hate
equalizer.
using that term level, but the same, we're all equal, right? and
Yeah, it's
and
an equalizer for sure.
it is, but I just love that, and it can be so simple to bring in even virtually,
Hmm.
like I think that's an area I know a lot of leaders ask me about is we run a lot of thousands of virtual programs over the last 10 years, and
Hmm.
how do you do it? How do you keep people interacted for 8 hours? And it's,
Mm.
one thing we did with a group of engineers, 25 engineers in COVID, and they're all obviously at home, was go and find a kitchen utensil that describes you.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a great game.
So, some had the grater, some brought back the Thermomix, got
Hmm.
quite deep actually, but was really just different ways of looking at the same thing. So
Mm.
absolutely love that you're doing work in that space and bringing it into the corporate world because it's so needed.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Tane, what about for you? Give me a little bit of, you were talking about, or Dara mentioned, having those two ideas at the same time and being able to,
Uh, yeah, dialectic thinking, the ability to hold two ideas in your head at once. Really,
yeah,
a lot of people think the world is going to hell in a handbasket. There are a lot of things going wrong. So yes, and things are going bad. Yes, and things are going good in many ways. But it's the third one is really yes, and things can get better.
mm,
And it really leads on two major sections of the books. One's called Strategic Hope, which is really deliberate agency in uncertain times. It's not wishful thinking, naive hope, but really systematic pathways thinking.
yeah,
Hope really transforms playful possibility into purpose-driven action. And I think, to Dara's, she's the expert in play, but I think play without hope becomes, especially in the corporate world, naive entertainment and
yeah,
also some expensive procrastination and just tick boxing.
yeah,
But play combined with hope, that's where the transformation lives. That's the secret sauce. Hope really gives you agency to say, I can influence this. And that cognitive flexibility and experience to find multiple pathways to a better future when one currently doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And I think that ties nicely into intelligent optimism,
Yeah.
which goes into your gift mindset. Your gift mindset reframes challenges as opportunities, and I love that. I think intelligent optimism adds the filter that, is this challenge real? Because we often misperceive challenges and threats. And where's the evidence for people, you know, where's the actual evidence? And intelligent optimism is a reality-based perspective, really in a knowledge, information, and media ecosystem that is built on despair. It's, you know, it's about getting clicks. It's fear sells, you know, whether if it bleeds, it leads is not some colloquialism coined by a cutthroat tabloid editor. It is a potent evolutionary truth that lies at the heart of the modern day media machine. And I think one of the most powerful things in the book, as far as that's practical, is thinking about your information diet in the same way you think about your culinary diet. And I like that you're into the culinary arts. But I mean, think about what you're ingesting, because it affects your health.
Yeah.
So you want nice leafy greens, dietary fiber, nuts, lean meat. You know, what comes in comes out and affects your health. And in the same way, information diet, what you click on and scroll with online really affects your mental and even physical health. Like negative news increases your heart rate, your stress hormones. And it also takes away agency, because if you just continue along the negative news path, which dominates negative 20 to 1 for good, then it makes you have a biased view of the world, and it leads to apathy, hopelessness, divisiveness, and often even hate, which are not really feelings or emotions that push us forward. So I like intelligent optimism and information diet as your navigational system. It helps you see what's actually happening instead of what you're just being told and what's most prevalent online. Because there's a lot of junk information out there, and a lot of clickbait, because your attention is bank. And so I think really taking back agency and thinking about your knowledge and information, how it can feed you and nourish you. Because, you know, knowledge is how we make sense of the world, and it's the way humanity builds a view. It's the mechanism by which we build a shared truth. And that mechanism is broken. So it's just, you have agency in this. Every time you click on, well, a cure for cancer or a cat video, every time you become a keyboard warrior on Facebook, or, you know, compliment someone's LinkedIn initiative, you're feeding the algorithm to give you more of the same. And it's also not just confined to the digital realm. You can really take it to the conversations with your team and around the dinner table with your family and friends. View yourself as a vector, and do you want good news, evidence-based good news, solution-based news, or do you want to be a vector for the same old mindless media and negative news that is being given to us? And I think that has an effect both culturally and societally at large, but also can have a huge effect in an organization and what they can believe, the culture within that organization, and also what they believe they can actually do and how well they can do it.
Oh, amazing, Tané. And it's spot on. And it's even people, you're right, watching and consuming the same things. You know, I've been in some communities, everyone started coming up with the same ideas because we're all reading the same books. We're all provocating the same way. Optimism's one of the 12 gifts of a gift mindset. And I've always said play, hope, and gratitude equals optimism. So I'm so aligned with what you're saying about intelligent optimism. And I don't tell many people this, but I've been on a news diet since I was about 12. I remember seeing the news at my nonna's house, and I think it was in Italian, but it was still, it rocked me, and I couldn't stop thinking about the hopelessness of the world. So there's something there, and I know what I need to know, but I'd go and rather walk my friend's dog, go and spend time with my sister, call a friend, opposed to watching something that's already happened.
Yeah,
You know,
or doom
so reactive. Yeah.
Well, it's also we're getting the worst stuff that's happening all over the world,
Oh,
and
that's right.
evolutionarily, we're just not
Yeah.
equipped to deal with that.
No.
We're used to like tribal, our ancestors grew up in tribes, and it was important to know what's happening as far as dramatic news in your little ecosystem.
Yeah.
But the world at large, a lot of people just watch this stuff and they have no agency and can't do anything
Too
about
much.
it.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's overload. Sorry, Dara, you were going to say something.
Oh no, I was going to say we haven't actually said what the book is called yet.
No, we're about to. I'm holding off. I'm building the layers. I'm
Oh, okay. You have a plan.
build,
I'm all yours.
building the characters. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we go into the book, I'd love to ask you. So, gifts are lessons basically from, I call the difficult person the Chris Kringle gift. You ask for perfume, you get socks, but they're the ones we can learn from the most, as well as, forced gifts, the pandemic, but also the
Mm.
positive things we all achieve or have in our lives usually have come at a cost, or we've had to overcome an obstacle. I'd love just to ask each of you, and Dara, I might start with you. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned probably in the last 5 years in life, leadership, your business? What is it for you?
Oh,
What's a standout?
there's so many. How to
Yeah,
choose?
I
it's a
know.
hard question.
I mean, I think the one that I have been focused on most recently and would probably be the most valuable for your audience is this concept of discipline versus bandwidth.
Yeah,
And bandwidth also meaning capacity. And oftentimes we feel like we should be able to do more, but our bandwidth and capacity is lacking intensely. And what we really need to do is rest and recharge and
yeah.
replenish and connect to ourselves and our community and our family and and so we think we need another productivity hack or we need another app to,
Mm,
we kind of call it productivity porn. It's like, what's the next
Mm.
thing that's
yeah,
going to help me optimize my life so that I can do more and be more and succeed? And in the book, we talk about achievement syndrome,
yeah.
which is actually this kind of secret little quiet thing that starts to creep in your life from your very early programming. It's kind of that the preface of burnout where it's like your early programming, have you viewed success, money,
Yeah.
relationships, things like that. Then you start to fuse your identity to the thing that you're doing. Then you go into optimization overdrive, which is again that thing between discipline and bandwidth. Then you start to get this diminishing curve around things are not like success
Mm,
is like meh.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm very much a victim of success amnesia. I just
Mm,
in my past, it's like do the thing, onto the next thing, onto the next thing without actually
yeah.
celebrating those wins.
Which is so
Um,
important. Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's a kind of breaking point where you can either continue on that trajectory of this kind of negative relationship with success and
Yeah.
achievement, or you can actually go, wait a minute, this is, my smile doesn't even reach my ears anymore. I'm completely a shell of myself. And if I
Yeah.
don't do
It's-
something, I'm gonna just completely atrophy my relationships, my
yeah.
spirituality, my emotional capacity, and then I'm going to burn out.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, this concept of capacity versus bandwidth
Love
and
it.
really, being able to get a clear picture of where your capacity is going. Like I'll be
Yeah.
very
That's
honest,
right.
like I'm a single mom and I started to do dating apps and it's so consuming. And,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like the
That's the
dopamine thing.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was taking away my capacity for being present with my
Mm,
child and taking away my capacity for being with my business.
yeah.
And once I was able to have that like that foresight around what was happening and I stopped, my relationship with my son improved and I have been able to be, kicking goals again for my business. So I
Yeah.
know it's, but it's a very real example.
I love that, Dara, because
Mm,
now the universe will show you the way. Yeah, and
mm,
you'll end up, and I think that's so important. And I think what you're saying about, discipline and bandwidth and also the definition of capacity, like most people align it to time. I align capacity to energy, what I call 5D energy. So,
mm-hmm.
connection, physical, relational, spiritual, all that sort of thing. So I love that. Tane, do you want to just share just a brief lesson that you've learned, and then we'll jump deep dive into the book?
Probably that perfectionism was really holding me back. That you don't
Yeah,
have to be finished to be useful, And it doesn't have to be, just really embracing lifelong learning in a playful manner. Like neoteny is the biological term for lifelong learning and lifelong playing. And that was really freeing for me, really through the lens. We'll get to it when we dive deeper into the book, but through AQ, the adaptability quotient.
Yeah.
And also along that, listening to other people, truly listening instead of just having something to say, because then you learn a lot more. You get a lay of the land, and you have more tools in your tool belt or ingredients in the kitchen to cook up something delicious.
You're making me hungry. Yeah, and it's spot on, and I think that listening piece is so important. We're not wired to listen as a human being, and then we have to learn to listen. And I think I love the thing that you were talking about around adaptability is not a trait, it's a practice. And I think the three superpowers to be future fit are adaptability, collaboration, and innovation. And I think you can't have those without the other. So you guys, congratulations on your new book, Full Stack Human, which probably around the time or just before this podcast will be being released 25th of Feb. I'd love you, just for our audience, to give us just a snapshot. What's the book about? Who's this book for?
Well, you go ahead.
I love it.
I'll just give.
This is the problem with the duo.
Together we are better. This book wouldn't exist without our multitude and collective ideas, because collaboration always trumps genius. We're better together. I just wanted to say the tagline of the book, to put it into a general framework: Full Stack Human, the mindset upgrade you need to stay human in a world ruled by technology. And go, Dara.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tané. So for us, it's really about that the white collar worker who is exhausted, overwhelmed, burnt out. I think coming into this year, being end of January, there's so much discussion about how people are so tired, and something about 2025 just really fried our nervous system. And I think it was the speed of which AI was adopted, and that speed will continue. Tané talks about the exponential growth of technology, and this is really about us reclaiming our humanity and looking at how those concepts, which we've lightly touched on before, around serious play, strategic hope, intelligent optimism, radical curiosity, and embodied adaptability. This is a real reclamation of mindset, skills, behaviors that already exist within us. This is not about learning something new or having to worry about this concept of optimizing or upskilling. It's like, hey, we're just wanting to help you remember how to be a human being, because that is the thing that we need most right now. Like Tané was saying before, our nervous systems are not set up to deal with this rapid pace of change. We share 99% of our DNA with chimpanzees and bonobos. And so we are literally
60% with the banana.
60% with a banana.
I heard that. There's something going on there between
And so we're just basically monkeys with a fancy thinking cap, trying to navigate this environment that we were never, set out to deal with. So it really is this acknowledgement of our, like Tané and I were talking about the other day. It's like, take your brain out for breakfast. Really understand what your brain is capable of doing. And that's something that we unpack in the first part of the book, is really this idea of our biases, our evolutionary hangovers, things like that. We look at achievement syndrome, which we touched on, and also our immunity to change, which is why is change so difficult. Then we have what we call that kind of 5-layer stack, which are the concepts we spoke about before. And then I'll hand it over to Tané to talk about the wanting to tell them, Tané, what is a full stack human? Like, where does it come from? And then tell us about the back end, the front end, and all the the framework.
And I think
over to you.
Just before you do, I love the fact, and I think it's really important, you're not adding to people's workload. Everyone at the moment has just got this, another thing. We've got the psychological safety code that's now compulsory, and we do a bit of work on an app and this really cool program, and people are like, it's more to learn. And I'm like, but it's not. It's not to add to your workload. It's to actually, it's part of you, and it's that whole leading from the inside out, which I think for anyone that picks up the book, and I highly recommend it, just remember you're just adding to that toolkit, or you're just remembering the things you already know and you're bringing them back to life.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like, just to touch on that idea of play, I mean, to think that play is something to add to your workload
oh,
is a gross misconception and something
Yeah.
that deeply breaks my heart.
oh,
And you
yeah,
know, when we're inviting this idea of play into a workplace, you
mm,
know, it's just if you because you spoke about before adaptability, collaboration,
yeah,
innovation, all of those things come from a place of play.
that's right.
And I think if we can just start really changing the dialogue about how we
Yeah,
view it and you know, how could you not want to, you know, build better relationships
I
with your
know.
people and your team? How could you not want to laugh? How could you
Yeah,
not want to be
Yeah.
more creative? I just, for me, it's like that.
it's a non it's a non-negotiable, and
Yeah.
I just think it's not indulgent. You know, like people think
Mm,
gratitude's in creating forums of gratitude, um, and the whole play
No.
piece. It's part of who we are, and I love that. It's remembering that. Tane,
Yeah.
want to
And
share some? Yeah,
I just one more final comment on that. I mean, from a neuroscience perspective, Dara actually told me this. There's multiple studies out there that when you're trying to learn a new task, it takes about 10 to 20 repetitions with play-based learning to learn a new task or a
yeah,
new skill, and 400 road learning repetitions. So even if you want to learn a new skill, just purely to improve your efficiency at work,
yeah,
play is still highly beneficial.
it
All right,
changes your
so
brain.
yeah. It does. It does. And show us the book. I
oh
saw it.
yeah, it's full stack human. Let's see if we can get it.
Amazing.
It's not
I'll
fully
get a
stacked
copy.
human.
Yeah,
My mother keeps calling it fully stacked human, and that's for a different podcast.
that's a
Um,
yeah,
so
the uncut.
the initial framework comes from an idea that we've been thinking about for about 5 years, and it comes from the programming world. My dad is a programming nerd, and there's a concept called full stack developer. It's someone who can manage the databases, the bits and bytes, those zeros and ones.
Yeah,
They can code the algorithms in the back end OS system to really make sense of all that data. And then they can also program the front end, the shiny apps that users
mm,
love and get addicted to. So it's a full stack approach to programming. So full stack developer is highly prized. We took that concept to a human being. How can you manage your data? What information comes in? How can you understand your basic architecture and rewrite the algorithms and use neuroplasticity to overcome some of your biases and also identifying what those are? Because they're not all bad, but they can disserve you in certain
right.
circumstances. And then what skills do you need to develop for the front end to shine up as a person that is not only efficient in the workplace, but
Mm,
nice to be around, someone that
yeah,
is actually, and it goes to your limitless leadership, really that the focus on leading from the inside out.
yeah,
It's kind of like the back end and front end integration because most leaders try and fix, especially leaders try and fix the front end, right?
mm,
Their behaviors and how to maximize profits and get their minions to do more.
yeah,
Where the back end is more their nervous system and understanding their own biases and what works for the ecosystem. Because I
mm,
mean, as Dara points out in the book in this great chapter, Full Stack Leadership, as a leader walks into the room, their nervous system shows up before they do. People just
yeah,
feel that stuff. So
yeah.
if you can get your back end sorted out, you'll have a much better luck and efficiency with the front end. So that's where the full stack human idea came about, with
I
the
love
layer of exponential technological change and how do we remain authentically, messily human in a world ruled by
definitely.
technology.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I'm yeah, really excited for you to get this book out. I think, I love seeing great books and messages spread their word because it's a living legacy, right? And to Dara, what you said before, it's one to many. So it's a great way to get your message out. How can people, so the book will be available Feb 25th. Where can people buy the book?
They can pre-order it on Booktopia or Amazon. They can also visit our website, which is fullstackhumanbook.com.
Oh, good. Yeah.
At the moment, I believe it might be around 25% off for pre-orders on
Oh,
both Amazon and maybe like 18% off on Booktopia. So
yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
grab your copy. And yeah, we're incredibly excited. I think as far as the zeitgeist is concerned, there's a lot of messaging out there around, what's wrong and what's
Mm.
happening with AI and things like that, but there's not a lot out there that's giving that kind of human practical application of
Yeah.
how do we reclaim our humanity? It's this
Yeah.
idea of this is for people who are done with sacrificing their humanity for success
Yeah.
and believing there's a better way to live our lives because for everyone to be so burnt out and so tired and so exhausted, what are we doing? What are we doing
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
people?
Exactly. And look, well, we might have to have a part two, I'm thinking.
Love
Um,
to.
yeah, maybe once the book is out, or we can come back and go
Yeah.
deeper into
Mm.
content. So we'll put in the notes where you can grab your copy of the book coming out Feb 25th, 2006. Just one really quick little question I want to ask you. To be limitless, which is about learning, unlearning, relearning, evolving, and really having what I call it's a limitless mindset that anything is possible, seeing opportunity in most things. How do you stay limitless as a person? Well, no, it's a bit deep.
I mean, for me, I would say that I need to understand what my limitations are before I can
Yeah,
become limitless. And I
yeah,
think before speaking about understanding your brain, your nervous system, understand what your capacity is, you have to really know your edges to be able to then serve them in a way that's
mm,
nourishing and
beautiful.
and opens you. I think you can't just jump into being limitless. I don't think it's
No,
possible. You need that feeling that you spoke about, that awareness, that recognition, and that
yeah,
acceptance of, this is where I need help, or this is where I struggle, or these are my edges, and then you can start to soften them and start to open
yeah,
yourself up more. But I
love
think
it.
the problem, and with that concept of play, you know, play is a vulnerable place. And I
Mm,
think when, I talk about play as an invitation and you can't force anyone to play. And a lot of the resistance that we get around play in the workplace is because it is really having to identify with your authentic self. And we have been
yeah,
told for so long that we are not allowed to bring our whole selves to work
to
and
work.
we are not allowed to be who we are.
Conditioning.
And
Yeah.
so it's very scary for a lot of people, but I think
Mm,
when leaders create the right conditions and the environments where we have these micro moments of opportunity to
yeah.
do this, that then we can start to, push boundaries in a way that feels
Mm.
safe and not exposing or damaging or toxic.
Yeah.
So I think it's yeah, that
So
awareness.
important. And I think too, getting organizations to get fun or play as a value in their culture. I've got a few companies one of ours is fun. We spend over 90,000 hours plus at work in a
Mm.
lifetime. Bring that fun in. Thank you, Dara. Just finishing Tane, because we'll have to wrap it up. I'd love to ask you an example of where you've been limitless and what happened.
Well, I love Dara's response, first of all. Tip of the
Mm,
hat. Know your own limits first. And in
yeah,
the book, we talk about our limits and our failures. But I would say where I've truly been limitless is when I collaborate with other people. We
yeah,
really, like we have a saying at Future Crunch, collaboration always trumps genius.
yeah,
And I think, just speaking about innovation and new ideas, the next innovation that is likely to disrupt your industry is very likely to come from outside of it. And if you're
mm,
looking for inspiration or knowledge, go to someone who knows less about your subject matter and your area of expertise than you do, because might have different ideas, protocols, and technologies that might be of
spot on.
use. So
Yeah,
just collaborate, communicate, empathize, and play. But we're
yeah,
better together. We're not going to get out of this. Uh, Put it this way: collaboration beats solo heroism every time.
yeah, totally, totally. Oh, look, I've absolutely loved our conversation. It's gone so fast. So I want to say thank you to both of you for making the time today. And I'll be watching the book come out and happy to support that. For everybody listening or watching, we'll have in the show notes where you can find these two amazing beings and also grab a copy of their new book. So thanks, guys. Thanks for the chat and thanks for listening to the Limitless Leaders podcast.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you for listening to the Limitless Leaders podcast. So you don't miss an episode, make sure you follow the show in your favorite podcast app. Feel free to share this podcast with your family, friends, and work colleagues. If you're enjoying the show, find out more on what we do at RG Dynamics at www.reneegiarrusso.com. Until next time, be limitless.